would like to welcome you to our presentation about our way towards usage of iiRDS in our content management system. So let's just dive right in. Just a short introduction. So about Danfoss, which I'm representing, Danfoss Power Electronics. So Danfoss is a global company, over 40,000 employees worldwide, and with over 100 factories all over the world currently. And yeah, you can see it's a true global company with three business segments. One is the Danfoss Power Solutions, focusing on hydraulics and all kinds of stuff. As you can see there, these nice vehicles. Then Danfoss Climate Solutions. This is probably where most of the people know Danfoss for the thermostats, but it's much more than that. And then Danfoss Power Electronics and Drives, where we are looking into frequency converters, which is where I am working. All right, so just quick glimpse into the product portfolio here. So Danfoss Power Electronics produces all kinds of frequency converters for all kind of industry verticals, or verticals industry is just one of them. So we are quite a lot in marine industry, hybrid and so on. And obviously all of these verticals have their own requirements. So we're covering all of those. And as you can see here, the two red squares here represent the areas where we want to look into today. So low voltage drives and a little bit into motion control servo drives. That's where we'll see the examples later on. A little bit about myself. So I've been around the technical communication quite a long time. As you can see, originally I'm an electrical engineer. And currently I'm working at Danfoss Power Electronics in Gråsten in Denmark, south of Denmark. And I'm managing the technical writing team at Danfoss, which consists of 14 people in total, and a global team. And we're taking care of the typical technical communication things. Creating manuals, translating manuals, creating illustrations. Just a very typical portfolio, I would say. And my personal passion is the digital data chain, as you can see. So how do we get our data into our products, connected to our products? And I'm Vice President of TCOM Denmark as well. So if you don't know what that is, please check in the program. We have a booth representation tomorrow at the TCOM stand. Frank, over to you.
Thank you, Holger. My name is Frank Ralf. I work for the company Parson, and my main focus is on information architecture, knowledge modeling, optimization of data flows, DITA-based documentation. Could you next slide, please? Yes. Parsons, compared to Danfoss, Parsons is a very small company. We're based in Hamburg mainly. We are experts for anything around intelligent information and knowledge management, information architecture. Parsons is an active member of the iiRDS consortium, and we are also iiRDS consultants. As I've said, we are a small company mainly based in Hamburg with offices around Germany, around 20 people working at Parsons, but our customers we're working for customers European, worldwide, for international customers as well.
Yeah, and as you can guess, we have held this presentation, not exactly this one, but the first version last year, and this year is kind of how the journey continued, because last year we looked into some pain points that we had, that probably very typical things that, as we are coming from creating manuals, right? A lot of us are creating manuals for our products, like PDF printed stuff. So, and they are created not specifically for the product, they are built, that we built, but for a product family, right? And then we are covering all kinds of, the whole portfolio in technical data tables. It's kind of a not very pleasant experience for customers to find exactly the information that they need for their product that they have physically at hand. So it's just one of those all. And we were having quite an inconsistent user experience because the manuals, due to mergers and due to different handlings in the divisions, are not very consistent in a way, right? Because you don't change everything after a merger, but you have to continue. So quite inconsistent depending on product line. And yeah, a lack of digital content delivery, as I'm saying, we are typically providing old-fashioned PDF manuals, which is obviously not sufficient because there's much more demand. And we had a quite poor search page as well to find even these documents, right? And then try to find within all these 500 search results, find is exactly the right manual that you're looking for. That's quite a pain for us. So the goal is that we want to establish something where customers can find technical product information, not manuals, but information in standard formats. Just a short history. So we were going through 3 different CCMSs to support our journey. As you can see, we have been working already since 2009 with CCMS systems. First one, Teamcenter CMS, followed by its successor, TechPub Studio, both based on Siemens Teamcenter. And then we made the transition to IXIA, MadCap IXIA CCMS last year. So what was our road actually to DITA, right? As you can see here, the red stuff is our kind of a little bit of our pain points that we had. In the Teamcenter CMS, it was a very nice system, worked very well actually for creating PDF manuals because it was based on DocBook. So that was the purpose, and that worked actually very well. But there was not really consistent versioning and baselining. So not really what our quality guys would like to see. And metadata was not really a thing in that system, was not really existing. And it was really difficult to do reuse in that system for the writers to even find the stuff, because you would rely on a consistent naming of the topics or the components as they were called. In TechPub Studio, we made the launch to DITA. So that was our transition. It was a big one for the writers to understand what is topic-based writing, modular topics, and so on. There we started using metadata. And there we had a consistent, forced by the system, versioning and baselining. Right, and it was quite easy to find this stuff for the writers, so productivity gain in that one. And we could increase the reuse as well. But still it had some quirks. It was a client-server based architecture, so very poor performance when it came to publishing and so on, at least for our experience, because of our internal setup with all the global server setup. Was not working for us, yeah, we were having troubles integrating to what we wanted in our digital content delivery journey. And that's why we then went to MadCap IXIA CCMS, and I should have mentioned the 2 systems were kind of forced out due to IT restraints as well. So that kind of put pressure on us, as it is in big companies. For the first one, it was Java and so on, and IT has demands on that, obviously. Yes, yeah. So as you can see now, the next step was to introduce IXIA CCMS with data structure where we could use metadata, and we wanted to base the metadata on iiRDS, and we could enable a little bit better content organization in that thing using the DRM feature that we will look into, and libraries. And we wanted to introduce conditional profiling, which that system allowed us to do as well. Yes. And very important for us, it gave us, or we are aiming for integrating it in our digital content delivery strategy. Yeah. And that's why we decided to create a metadata model, not based on, we had a quite good one in TechPub Studio, but we thought, why not basing it on an existing standard rather than developing it from just like that, right, from the air. So we tried to align with the iiRDS model while we created our metadata model. So as you can see, we tried to reuse as much as existing iiRDS attributes, and these are the gray boxes that you can vaguely see here, and then defining use cases for them, right? Some of them are relevant for variant management and so on. So, okay. Yeah, so 2 use cases, as I mentioned, variant management and content delivery. These were 2 of the use cases, and you can see we kind of could reuse quite a lot of these existing iiRDS. So all the gray stuff, as I said, is kind of reusing. Sometimes we renamed them a little bit, but we try to align. For example, one example, we wanted to use product variants, right? This attribute for product lines, for example. Right? But I'm just skimming through because this is just a recap. But now I'm handing over to Frank.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, just let me go back to the last slide from Holger, because we did 2 projects together with Danfoss. So the one was the basis for our presentation last year, where we talked about just creating the metadata model. So the end of last year's presentation was we had this beautiful, big metadata model as implemented or created as a mind map. And for those of you, or we talked last year, we talked about that creating the metadata model is just, it should be independent from the implementation, how you actually implement the metadata model. You just start looking at your product lines, which metadata you need for delivering the documentation, what metadata is needed for variant management, and so on. And after that, of course, comes the hard part, actually implementing this metadata model. And that's what we're talking about today. So from theory to practice, that was the focus of the second project we did together with Danfoss. And I will talk about it. What we actually did in this joint project was a small pilot project, so we couldn't do so very much, but we focused on the most important parts of implementing the metadata model. Just talk a bit what we did, how we worked together, and we give some examples. Talk about what's very important about the decisions you have to make, what and how to implement, and we will give you some concrete examples, as Holger already pointed at, from mapping the iiRDS data to the implementation in the system. We will talk about, show you some product property implementation, some product type hierarchy, how this is implemented, and especially how everything comes together in IXIA CCMS. So what we did together with Danfoss in this small project was we did some interactive workshops, because we just we didn't want to go there and tell them what to do, but we wanted to enable them to implement things themselves, to change things themselves. So a main part of the project was the knowledge transfer and the enablement of the technical writers to do these changes themselves. So what we did was in the first project, we already created a DITA specialization for Danfoss. And in the second project, we worked together with the technical writers, fine-tuning this specialization and showing them how to implement or how to do these changes technically themselves. One example was that we renamed one of the specialized profiling attributes. And we helped them implementing these metadata concepts in the IXIA CCMS by creating a concept or discussing with them a concept for creating the products, setting up the products in IXIA, and creating the libraries for the reusable content. Okay, the first step is or was to decide what of this big metadata model that we had in this mind map actually we wanted to implement in the first step. So we decided, or Danfoss decided, to actively implement two profiling attributes, and of the other profiling attributes that we had set up in the DITA specialization already, we decided not to implement them in the first step. And then, of course, the decision was where to implement it, with which features of the CCMS the implementation should be done. The one decision was whether the metadata should be implemented as metadata in the DITA content itself, or whether that should be done with features that are especially provided by the IXIA CCMS. So what we did, we implemented a number of metadata as DITA elements and DITA attributes with this specialization. And we implemented another part of the iiRDS metadata model with the specific features of IXIA CCMS. So the main component we used for that was the dynamic release management. We already made a lot of use of the libraries feature of IXIA, but we decided against using the taxonomies that IXIA provides because that was not powerful enough for mapping all the metadata elements that we wanted to use. So, which part or which iiRDS components were mapped to which CCMS features? The profiling attributes, I've already talked about that, were implemented as specialization to the DITA schema for Danfoss. We created 4 new profiling attributes so that the profiling attributes values could be defined and managed with another DITA mechanism called subject scheme maps. We had for each product series, we will see an example later, we had an additional property, the product type hierarchy, and all these DITA-based mechanisms and implementations were stored inside IXIA-soft libraries so that they could be managed in the IXIA-soft, in the IXIA CCMS. So you see here a mapping of the profiling attributes that were defined in the metadata model, and on the right side you see the actual dialog that pops up in Oxygen when selecting the attributes. All the attributes are already available, but actively used are only the 2 product properties and product type hierarchy at the moment. Another set of metadata was implemented as DITA elements, specialized DITA elements, so that we could enrich the DITA content itself by Danfoss-specific metadata. Here's an example for all the metadata we used. We used standard DITA elements, for example, the author information, and those were enhanced by specialized DITA elements, especially created for Danfoss. And the third mapping or a third use of iiRDS-based metadata in the IXIA CCMS was that we aligned the graphic types that are available via inside IXIA CCMS already with mappings to the iiRDS standard. So yeah, now for a concrete example, the iiRDS product property. And if you go to the website of Danfoss, you could search for see this. It's called the frame designation. It's a frame size for the what is it called? It's,
for the enclosure.
Yes, for the enclosure. For So this is, was mapped to the iiRDS class product property. For this, we defined the DITA corresponding DITA profiling attribute with the same name. And Danfoss uses this profiling attribute for filtering in IXIA CCMS using the DITA mechanism, the DITA val files. And actually, the product property is the deepest level they use for filtering information in the technical documentation. And you see, we are looking at this specific frame designation size FA03A. You see, this is where it shows up in the product catalog on the website. Just a step back to show you where this is located in the hierarchy of iiRDS classes. The product property is part of the documentation metadata. Next level is the product metadata. It's a product feature, and product feature is separated between product function and product properties. And this is, of course, part of the product. This is the product property. Here you can see the same as part of the metadata model we created in the first project. See this is product metadata, product feature, and then part of the product properties is the enclosure, the frame size. Modeling that as a profiling attribute for the DITA content enables Danfoss to create or use subject scheme maps to define the allowed values for these property. And the property value actually is the key element here. Oh, sorry. That's this here. Subject scheme maps also allow more easy to read value in form of the nav title, so the authors don't have to remember the actual technical value for this property, but can use the usual name they know. And you see the values for this subject scheme map were chosen so that they come or that they are reused from other systems that are already in use at Danfoss. For example, the SAP document classification system uses the very same values, and also the digital asset management system uses these values. Currently, there's no automatic reuse of the values from these systems in the DITA documentation, but that is planned for the future. Okay, I think I hand over to you, Walter.
Yes, let's take a look at another example. So as I said, so this is a product from our motion products portfolio. So the more smaller motors, as you can see. So this is kind of the journey that you see in the product store when you go there. So you have the whole product portfolio here of drives, and then you can drill down to the motion products. Within that, to this product series, integrated servo drive, and then you come to a product specific page here. So just to show how the product hierarchy kind of plays a role here. And this is kind of what you see here reflected, right? So there's the product type hierarchy, and it drills down through the product line. VLT in this case is one of our product lines here. And then below that belongs to a flex motion, a so-called flex motion products portfolio. And then there is the specific product, ISD 520 in this case, which is then level 5. So that was very important that we stick to what we use internally in our other systems, because this is given from the PIM system later on, currently in the PLM and SAP. But one reason why we did not implement some of the other iiRDS features there is because all of these systems are currently open boxes, so they are reintroduced. So that's why we kind of don't want to start implementation now. Yes, here you can see the same a little bit just for the other products. So here what Frank described, so there is the map reference here, the attribute of product type hierarchy, and the keys, same here. Oops, sorry. Oops, that was far too far. So that is kind of aligned with the code used in the other systems like SAP and DAM. And the nav title here, you can see a little bit more talking title than for the other one. It just said the same for both. But here you can see the idea, right? So because this is our official product name of the thing, and this is the key that we are using, right? So, or in this case, this one. It's the other way around. Yes, and that will allow us then to do a conditional profiling based on this key here, right? So you can imagine increases reuse because we can then use one topic for multiple products if there are minor differences. We try to avoid too much conditional profiling, but in some cases it's just very useful. Yes. So so here you can see one example how it's used, right? So you've seen this one already. So so this is a snippet from actually the CCMS, and you can see here how the conditional profiling is then introduced. So in this case, it's a if these keys, this is only valid for these keys, but not for the other products, right? And so on. And here we have a very specific topic that's only valid for one product, not magic. I think this is standard DITA functionality. Yeah, this one, just to give you a little bit of an idea. Frank mentioned already the DRM. So that is a feature that IXIA brings, and that was one of the tools we were using in our journey here. So the idea is that so we create different content sets for the different products, and there's no reuse between the products, only within the same product. Seems like a limitation, but it's just for us. Otherwise, the reuse would be far too complicated. And as we are a global team, at some point, no human brain can handle all these dependencies, right? If you reuse across the whole product portfolio, it will just not very efficient be. And mistakes will happen. We made this experience in our last CCMS where we made reuse across all the products, and it was kind of a mess. And you can see here on the product level we have metadata only for the release management. The release branch has an own metadata, and the version creates a branch. So you can say it like this. So the the element that we were using, that's a DITA map specialization called container. So the branching of a product creates a new, what can I say, a new branch with a mapped fork. Who is not nerded out by now? No one nerded out. That's good. So it's and we have the possibility then to use these branches from IXIAsoft. So the libraries, they are below the products. So we have the products and then the libraries. These are the top levels here. And the libraries belong to a product, and they can be reused anywhere by all products and between other libraries. So on the library level, reuse is possible, right? Sounds a little bit strange, maybe. And yes, but maybe this picture explains a little bit better. So, so this is not how it actually looks in the system, just explains the concept, right? So, as I said, so on the product brands that I showed earlier, where we split the product collections, as we call them, right? And so the criteria is because there are differences in product features, different in content lifecycle, content evaluation, and so on. And this is the top-level organization for the publications in a way, right? And the content for the publications is gathered from the library collections below. And we created specific library connections going from the back here, common, brand-specific or product-specific information, and that can be shared between product brands or product series. And then optional content, that's accessories and stuff, that can be shared across multiple products. Yeah, software library collection here. So, so because that sometimes can be shared with different hardware variants within one product collection, because they typically, a product brand here typically has one software platform behind. Yeah, same for hardware here. So same here, so every brand, product brand has normally a specific hardware architecture as well. So, and then we have library collections for common content. As you can imagine, we want to maintain hazard statements, other legal information text. We want to handle that separately. Only some writers can edit this. So there is, because our legal department needs to review this stuff, so we don't want every writer but everyone can use only this here. Illustrations, we decided to make unlimited reuse across the products for illustrations, because otherwise it gets, there are so many generic illustrations that we can reuse. We would limit the reuse unnecessarily. It was our decision, let's see if it was a good one. And then obviously common information for our product portfolio. For example, we have some text that is all the same in all operating guides and so on. Yeah, and just an example how that would look for example, for this motion product portfolio here. So motion drives, then we have through the branching. You remembered, I showed you the product store in the beginning. And this is kind of how it breaks down here. And these are the two that we are using as well for profiling, right, where the products then sit. And then there is, for each of them, there are library connections, right? Same principle as I just showed here, right? Just specific how it looks, right? So there is a specific library here for this motion drives product branch. Then there is obviously a common library collection that can be reused here, and there's a specific, another specific, that's an internal thing, but it's generic content in a way. And then that one I just explained. This is how it looks in the administrative view. So when my information architect is actually setting the stuff up, this is how it looks in IXIAsoft, how you set it up. I don't want to go too much into it, just wanted to show you how that looks. It's much bigger, it's a much bigger view where you can visually create these things. Just wanted to show it to you. So the publications are created in the product branch. The content is in the library collections, and then all the common stuff like hazard statements, illustrations, and so on is collected from library collections on the bottom. Right. This is kind of how it looks. So just that you know, now you can guess who's my information architect, who wins the prize. So, because this is how the admins can see, for example, Janna, she is my main architect here. She creates all these things. That's what Frank said. We wanted to be enabled to do the stuff ourselves in our team. So that was another part of the project, that our team had a lot of learnings how to do these things.
Can you guys get back to this? And this is just, you see on the top there's one product selected, and on the bottom it's all the related libraries. So it's a rather complex thing to maintain. Try to keep it as simple as possible, but still it's, of course it's complex because the product portfolio is complex.
So that has kind of, we're still expanding this, as you can imagine, because we get new product lines, and we are not there yet. But the concept with the libraries is actually very nice, because it's easy to understand for the writers as well. It's logic. And next step for us will be, so the publication channels. Right. So as I said, we were doing this very precisely because we want to enhance our content delivery journey. So how do we expose our topics, right? And currently we have a Drive assistant, a troubleshooting chatbot. Currently it's fed manually from our topics, but that is planned to be integrated. So that it pulls the data from our topics. Then online help in our software tools, it's currently decoupled. So the next steps, the future plan is integration very much. And you can see here, so exposing the topics via a content delivery portal, whatever that will be. We are currently looking into that, so that the customer can, down on topic level, combine the information that he wants. And we had a pilot already, and currently we are looking into something with Microsoft Copilot or a commercial content delivery portal. We are not sure yet. But the whole metadata journey that we are using, as we heard in the presentation before, you know, AI will be enriched by the metadata, will get much better and more relevant, right? So this is what we are trying to foster here. So we are, in that sense, just at the beginning when it comes to publishing our content or posting or delivering our digital content. And the metadata enrichment that we are looking into, we don't want to throw all metadata in our CCMS. That would be a nightmare for the writers to handle. But what is planned, and we are already in the discussion on that, there will be metadata enrichment should be part of the post-publishing process then, based on some rules. So I just have to run through now because we are running a little bit out of time. So the idea is still we want to create a documentation, and this is all laying the the groundwork here, that we can offer topics based on the serial number of a product, because that would be relevant for the customer, looking on the number plate, typing in serial number, and they only get what they need and not more, not drowning. And oops, sorry. And then same approach here. This is just one scenario, right? Product instance-specific documentation via VDI 2770, which we do already, but manually currently. So that will be integrated in that journey. And then obviously the integration of PIM to inherit the product hierarchy directly and not maintaining it in the CMS, right? And then the product lifecycle connections, getting them from PLM. So, but both of these big systems are currently in an update, so we cannot really do the integration now. But that is how it will continue. And I think that gives us 3 minutes for questions, same as in the last presentation.